family, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are here for the first time, I am so glad you're here. A little bit about me: I work full-time in a job as a project manager, and I sell on Poshmark as a reseller part-time, so that is my side hustle. And today I want to go over my inventory system, which is why we are right here in front of all my inventory. I want to start by going over the reasons that I think you should use an inventory system like mine rather than a hanging system. So I do not think this is for everyone. I think if you have like a warehouse, I know I've seen a few people on Instagram that have a warehouse, this is not necessarily the system for you because it does take more time every time you list an item to put it in these bins, and there is more management in keeping track of things. But if you are limited on space like me, I run my whole business out of the spare bedroom in my home, I would definitely recommend this system because it saves a lot of space and it's really easy to keep organized in your business and know where everything is. So think about it this way: if you have a lot of space, you can spread out horizontally, so more square footage. If you do not have a lot of space, you can spread out vertically. So way above me, there's even more bins. I have 24 bins, and think about spreading out vertically if you are limited on space. And that's what I've done with this system. Also, I do want to mention that if you have a small space for your personal closet, so like me, I do not have a walk-in closet in my bedroom. I have some of these bins that are behind me sitting in under my bed in my bedroom to store some of my shoes and my handbags. So this is a potential system that you could use for your personal closet as well if you're limited on space but you still love clothes or shoes or accessories or whatever. So let's get started with the logistics of what makes up this system. So I have these shelving units that the bins are sitting on here. These are from Sam's Club. They are industrial commercial strength. They are around $70, and I have 4 sets of them behind me. As far as the plastic bins that I hold everything in, I have 24 of them at the moment, and they hold between 20 and 30 things depending on what type of items I'm putting in them. I wish I had a bin that was empty so I could show it to you instead of this really heavy one, but here is one of the bins pulled out. This is A1, and so I used to, when I first started this inventory system, you can probably see, oh my gosh, it's so heavy. You can probably see that there. I like designated this as a certain type of bin, but as I've gotten more into it, I just put whatever type of item in whatever bin. I'm gonna go ahead and read you all the model number on the back of the bin. It's the Sterilite 23.5 inch, 16 7/8 inch, and 12 1/4 inch size bin. It's a 58 quart bin. There you can see what the label looks like on the bin. So those are the two things that make up the system itself, so the shelves and the bins. But inside the bins, I have a little bit different way of storing the different types of items. So let me show you a clothing item and how I store them. For all my clothing items, I put them in these plastic bags that I get off of Amazon, and I will link them in the description box below. And I put them in the bins already bagged and ready to go with the inventory number, if you can see that, the inventory number there on the front of the bag. In this particular example, this is a limited dress. So in the title of the Poshmark description, I put something that says limited dress C3. That's the inventory bin that the item is in. And then in my description, so remember in the title I have C3, in my description of the Poshmark listing, I put the inventory number, which this is just my system for doing inventory. It's 111845. So when I sell something, I will look into the Poshmark listing to find the inventory number in the description and what bin it's in, which is in the title of the Poshmark listing, and that's how I find my items. Guys, this saves so much time. I cannot tell you how frustrating it was before I had some sort of number to put where my inventory was, trying to find things. And as you grow, so I have, I think right now around 730 listings. As you grow, that gets harder and harder to find things. So even if you have a hanging system, I would recommend doing some sort of numbering system. It can literally just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be able to know where your inventory is and putting that in the title or description of your Poshmark listing. With shoes and accessories like purses, I'm a little less organized. I do not have everything nicely folded in plastic bags. So here's a pair of shoes, or one of the shoes. With this pair of shoes, I put this directly into a bin. So in the title of the listing, I will put the inventory bin that the item is in. So let's say it's in bin A1, and then I just put the shoes directly in the bin. I haven't had that much trouble finding them because the shoes are pretty specific with brand and how they look and size. I haven't messed anything up yet with it, but that's just how I do it because it's just a little too hard for me to bag shoes. This is obviously a little bit more of an expensive inventory system, but one thing you could do to save money is you could not use these shelves and you could just stack up the plastic bins. I've seen some people do that. The only problem is if you sell something at the very bottom bin, you're having to lift everything up to get to the bottom bin. But that's what some people do to save money. I think overall, I bought this over time, but it probably cost me around $400 to implement this system. And this is what I plan on using unless someday something changes. I plan on using this into the future. One tip I have for you though to get this stuff a little bit cheaper, you can sometimes find shelves like these ones at the thrift stores. So sometimes, like, let's say there's a LuLaRoe consultant that's going out of business. Sometimes they'll donate all their shelving units, or somebody was storing things in the garage and they're donating their shelving units because they're moving. Keep an eye out for those at the thrift store because that can be a really great way to get your inventory system organized for a lot less money. And same with the plastic bins, although they're only like $5. So I would just say buy those new because you never know what's been in them. And in general, you can find those for really cheap. I'll link the ones I use. They're from Walmart. They're like $5, so they're pretty cheap. I also asked you all over on my Instagram at Emily H. Munn if you had any questions about inventory systems, and I have my phone right here. So I'm going to read through some of the questions and answer them just in the order they were received. And hopefully this is a good Q&A for some of the questions you might have. Of course, if you have any others, just leave them in the description box below. First question, what do you use to keep track of sales inventory cost? Thanks. So for me, I use an Excel spreadsheet that my husband and I created together that tracks absolutely everything about the item, how much I paid, how much it sold for, what the fees were on whatever platform. I used to use that more when I used eBay and Poshmark. Now it's usually just Poshmark fees. And I do not put the inventory bin that the item is in the spreadsheet. I just put it in the title of the Poshmark listing, but it has all the information. So if you want me, now that I have a camera, it might be a little bit easier. If you want me to go over my particular Excel spreadsheet, just leave a comment and I will do so. Do you prefer to seal your bags when you ship or when it goes in the bin? This is a great question. So for me, I go ahead and seal the bags when it goes into the bin, but that has bit me a couple times because since it has adhesive on it, if I get asked a question like, let's say, what is the pant opening measurement? I have to take the item out of the bag and measure it and somehow get it back together. So I think you could do it either way. I've heard some people talk about potentially leaving it open so somebody can recycle that bag and use it for something else in the future. Just something to think about. I may start leaving them open in the future. If you do have animals or something like that, that would be when you want to close them so there's no like dander or pet hair that gets into the bags over time or dust or anything like that. So you could do it either way, but for me, I do go ahead and seal them at the moment. Have you ever lost an item? No, I haven't. I've never lost an item. When I didn't have this inventory system that I have behind me, it did become a bit of a struggle and I was really frustrated and spent a lot of time searching for things, which is why I would recommend you at least do something to know where your items are, but I've never lost anything. Do you separate by category? Pre-bag, do you have an Excel spreadsheet? So do I separate by category? I used to, but as I get more items, I can't necessarily predict the flow of which categories I find items in. So if I find shirts or jeans or shoes, I can't necessarily predict that. So things are more mixed together than they used to be. The second question is, do I pre-bag? Yes, it saves so much time. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're struggling with shipping. It takes all of the pain out of it. Do you have an Excel spreadsheet? Talked a little bit about that already, but yes, I have the one my husband and I put together. Pain categories of your spreadsheet and calculating money spent and profits. So my spreadsheet is pretty simple and it works well. So I don't have a lot of pain points. The only problem is when we run out of rows. So we have a certain amount of rows in the Excel spreadsheet that we gather data from. And when we have to add rows and add that into our metrics, that does make it a little bit difficult. My husband does help me with it. The other thing I would say is it does take time to do it. It is time to enter each item into inventory, but I think it's completely worth it because you really know where you're at. You know what your metrics are. It's totally worth it to have it, and it's worth that extra, I don't know, maybe 15 seconds of time every time you list something. That's it for my inventory system. I know this was a lot of information, so if there is something you want more specific details on, just leave it down below and I will definitely either get to your question or make another video. I hope this was helpful. I just think organization is such a big part in business and something we forget about until we grow really big. And so hopefully this helps you when you're starting out or when you're small, or if you've gotten a little bit over your head and you need something to help you get a little bit farther along in your business. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you being here and watching through the whole thing. If you want me to make more informational type videos, definitely leave it in the comments down below and I will either answer your question or make another video on it. Bye. The best part about YouTube is that I can put all my hair to the front and you can't see the back. So it looks like I have a lot more volume of hair than I do. It kind of looks like I have like a halo over my head. This is really heavy. Oh my gosh, this is so heavy. I'm gonna put this down because it's way too heavy for this video. Woo, that was a bit of a workout.